My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live. Hey, my sister, how are you?
It's Lent, right? Yeah. we might need some more wine for this.
So let's get this party started, y'all. Hey, my sister, mademoiselle.
That is the most amazing introduction I have ever heard.
Oh. Of myself and Madison, Brian Wesley Johnson. Thank you for joining us on Saturday morning. You a life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you next time. Bye. Hello and welcome to another edition of Soulivity Live, everyone. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad you joined us because, once again, you picked the perfect moment to get inspired. And we have a fantastic show for you today. We have Reverend Kevin Ross, of the Senior Minister of Unity of Sacramento, California. Can't wait for you to meet him. We got a lot to talk about. But before we get started, I want to once again thank our partner, Beyond Words, all of our guests for our last Truth Power Series event. It is called Celebrating African American History. We had a great conversation spanning across many different topics. At times, it was a very hard but necessary discussion. That's to better our communities, our world. Now, if you missed it, you can always go and see it at our YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe while you're there. You'll be able to receive alerts and notifications every time we go live. Now, I want to also let you know about our next Truth and Power event. You want to see this one. It's celebrating women around the world for International Women's Month. We are featuring some really notable women, including the CEO of womensworking.com, Helen Lerner, the creative director for Beyond Words Publishing, Michelle Cohn, actress Jade Taylor, and entrepreneur coach Daniela Coffey. It will be moderated by our own Candace Harper, the love coach, on Soulivity TV's Ask for Candy. Now, remember, you can set a reminder by going to our YouTube channel or our Facebook page right now. So let's get into today's show, shall we? We have so much to talk about today. Introduce our guest. Here's a little video about him. The Reverend Kevin Kitrell Ross is a Southside Chicago native who now serves as the Senior Minister of Unity of Sacramento, the first Unity Church in the great state of California. He is regarded as a respectful interfaith social justice leader, committed to building bridges of understanding and cooperation across race, culture, class, and religious lines. Whether in his role leading one of the nation's most diverse and integrated congregations, conducting diversity and implicit bias experimental training for faith and government organizations, or being an outspoken activist for healing the crisis between law enforcement and communities of color, Reverend Ross is dedicated to strengthening communities through dialogue, direct encounter, and education. Reverend Ross's mission has taken him throughout the United States and to 5 continents as a keynote speaker, a panelist, and facilitator, sharing the stage with such luminaries as the late President Nelson Mandela, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Ambassador Andrew Young, and Dr. Marian Wright Edelman, as well as Senator, now Vice President Kamala Harris. He has also appeared in national magazine and television shows, including being an invited guest on The Oprah Winfrey Show. He is also a noted author of several books, with his latest book, Breathing Space, a 52-week meditation journey for centered, soulful, and successful living, released in February of this year. Whether it's with his work as a celebrated life coach, radio show host, leadership consultant, author, or in his role as senior minister, Rev Kev, as he is affectionately called, believes all people deserve to live lives of purpose, passion, peace, and prosperity. And with that, it is my pleasure to welcome to Soulivity Live, Rev Kev. How you doing, brother?
I am great. Thank you so much, Brian. So glad to be here.
Man, I have been looking forward to this for a week now. Everybody, Rev Kev, right? Rev Kev was part of our event last week, and we had such powerful content that I wanted to end this month on Black History. Want to expand on some of what we had talked about during the event, learn a little bit more about you and your journey. And then, you're already doing this, but we can expand on it even more, which is giving people even more hope, more inspiration during this, right? I mean, there's a lot going on in our world. And I know you're on the front lines of this. You're helping people with the nourishment in so many different levels in their lives as a senior minister at Unity. I wanted to kind of start our conversation off by going back, because I know that some people who are watching may not know your background. I don't want to assume they know your background. Done some homework on you, Lou. So I want to make sure that we get that all in there. We're both Midwest. I'm from Detroit and you're from Chicago. Detroit and Chicago are like, peanut butter and jelly when it comes to a sandwich. I mean, we're very, those two towns are very, very close, especially with the Black community. What was life like?
I have very fond memories growing up on the south side of Chicago in a 3-story brownstone community, one of the communities that President Obama did his organizing in. I grew up in a community where that community was comprised of so much diversity. My grandparents they were part of that migration from the South that came up from Arkansas to find work. And so I grew up witnessing families. I saw fathers, mothers, and children all on our block. And I saw outstanding Black men going to work every day, coming home to families. I witnessed that growing up. And so there was Mr. WESTLEY, there was Mr. Williams and Miss Crum and Mr. Crum. I mean, I had that kind of a childhood that people talk about. We rode bikes, concrete knee scrapes and going to school. That story about people I walked a mile to school back and forth.
Up a hill both ways.
We did that waist deep in the snow. So Chicago made me. Chicago was the place that gave me my foundation. I was a church boy growing up. I grew up at Christ Universal Temple. Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman was the senior minister. And I grew up in this environment where I witnessed my whole life Black excellence. Dr. Coleman built the first mega church in the city of Chicago. And so this is a place where Harold Washington's funeral was met. We had a mayor, first Black mayor, Harold Washington. So I was born into that world where possibility and the continuous affirmation of my potential was present. My grandpapa, my grandmother, my father, my dad, and my like your mother, my mother was a school teacher, elementary school teacher, taught in Chicago's Cabrini Green. My father uh, started his career on Broadway with
Oh,
the
wow.
the Wiz, um, Dreamgirls, The Wiz, Evita, all of those great shows. And so I got an opportunity to be a part of that, the magic of that, and touring with my dad and experiencing again this yes you can conversation. And then in church, in Sunday school, we were it was instilled in us that we were unique unrepeatable miracles of God, and that we were filled with infinite potential and possibilities. And so I had a lot of affirmation growing up from my own community. I had opportunities, when I was a kid, to speak and write. Barbara Powell, my eighth grade school teacher, insisted that I get involved in writing and speech, and thank God she was right, because it did open up a whole another world for me at the time when Nancy Reagan,
Hmm?
she started a Say No to Drugs campaign. I don't know if
Right.
you remember,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was the front end of the war on drugs.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a time when she said that there are no positive or not enough positive youth role models in inner cities, and that we had to be concerned. And I looked around, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I only,
same in
yeah,
my community.
yeah, I had a great childhood. I have great examples. And of course, growing up in this unprecedented spiritual community, Christ Universal Temple, I saw Black success and excellence, all around me. Don Jackson, who created the Stellar Awards, Oprah attended there for some time. So I only saw this excellence, and so I told my best friend at the time, and my longest friend still today in the world, David Montgomery, who's now Dr. David Montgomery. He's an MD, PhD cardiologist. He's the heart doctor for CNN
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
show. Yeah, he's a good guy. I said to him, we were teenagers at the time. I said, you know what? Why don't we show up and be the positive youth role model? Why don't we do that for ourselves? And so, with the help of one of our mentors at the time, um, Les Brown,
Um,
who was leading a powerful youth program at our church called Project New Life. Um, we were being inspired to become what we call tag team youth motivational speaking duo known as the Brothers of Thunder. And
I
yes, the Brothers of Thunder.
love it. All
And
right.
and so we came together in my bedroom, which at the time my mother gave me license to do whatever I wanted to do in there. So I turned that bedroom into an office. I had a podium in there, and we would, emulate, Dr. King's speeches. And eventually we got our own talk and our own rhythm, and we started getting opportunities to speak. And we had this unique way that we would introduce ourselves and then give our talks. And one time we got a chance to speak on a Sunday morning at CUT, Christ Universal Temple, where there was an average attendance each week of 5,000 people. Dr. Coleman just gave us that shot. And so we got up that on that big stage, and we introduced ourselves like this. We would tag in and out. So I would start. We're just two young men. We're just two young men who choose to express similar ideas, but from different aspects.
Right.
The time is now, and no other time can we deem best for this dynamic duo to arise and raise consciousness. Spirit, soul, body, and mind, we seek to ultimately motivate. With the thunderous words we speak, we aim to stimulate your sense of health and prosperity, of wealth and integrity, aiming to reach our elders on posterity. And then he tag in, striving to
Ooh.
determination and dignity, and with God-given grace arrive in triumphant divinity. With a joyful and jovial justification of life, love, and liberation, we seek to bring you a most astounding recitation to bring in souls and inner emancipation. Then I tag back in, but to answer the call for all God's youth who dare not stand tall. Come, witness this contagious spell we're under, for you're now in the presence of the brothers of thunder.
Oh,
Lightning and thunder. Yeah.
We can just end the show.
It's
All right, thank you very much for
been great
being
being
live, and we'll be back next week.
And so these young boys, these teenagers set that moment on fire, and it launched us. It launched us into this whirlwind of really going out there, speaking at colleges and community centers and churches and corporations and for conferences all over the nation and world. We were getting paid to speak, to inspire our peers, and to provide insight to leaders and shapers of the minds of youth, how to reach and motivate and inspire our peers. This is what we were doing. And
I want to interrupt you just a second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All of this seems as though this was born out of this initial seed that was planted within you. That was not only are you of Black excellence, but you are embodiment of Black excellence. All you need to execute, implement it, inspire to do it, and now you have the freedom to do it. And
if I had to slow down and answer that, I would go back and talk about the incubator that I had for that seed. So it was the messaging that I was a unique, unrepeatable miracle of God. It was the environment, the village that surrounded me that reinforced that messaging, from my elementary school teacher, Ms. Barbara Powell, to my grandpapa, who held high expectations, to my mother and father, who gave me permission to imagine, to my great mentor and teacher, Dr. Johnny Coleman, who lifted me up every time she gave me a chance to be, this is that wraparound of the village.
Yes.
Incubated that and gave me permission.
Yeah.
Right. At a very early age. Mm-hmm. And this helped to give rise to the risks that I would take, the dares that I go for, and the dreams that I had, along with many I've named, including Reverend Ike, who I'll maybe talk about at some point. Spider-Man and Superman weren't my heroes as much as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as a kid.
Right.
And was typically I had his image in my bedroom, and to be able to be like him was a dream of mine. The only thing that I could do to really kind of follow in his footsteps was to attend his alma mater, Morehouse College, in Atlanta,
Whose
Georgia.
house?
And that was a big dream at the time, because my parents at that time could not afford to send me to Morehouse, and I was getting opportunities to go to other colleges. But what happened was Barbara Powell, 8th grade teacher, took me on that college tour, historically Black college and university tour, in 8th grade. That seed was planted. I stepped on the Morehouse campus, and I said, this is for me.
Okay.
I'm going. So learning about the power of declaration early on, I just put it on my vision board. And ironically, David Montgomery went ahead of me. He's a year older than I am. So he went to Morehouse. Well, because of the Brothers of Thunder, and the reputation that we created, for ourselves, and we were generating money, I had the boldness to come to my minister, Dr. Johnny Coleman, and say, "Hey, mother, my big dream is to go to Morehouse, just like David did. His parents are in a little better shape. I want to go to Morehouse." And I've never asked you for anything. I've been coming to church. I've been, a good boy. Right, that's me. And I said to her, and they want $3,500 for my first semester tuition and fees, first semester fees and so forth, on top of the federal aid and whatnot and loans
Mm,
I was getting. And
mm.
I said, yeah. And she looked at me. She says, "Are you going to finish?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "Are you going to make me proud?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said 4 words that changed my life: "Go get my purse."
Oh, oh. Tell me, tell me about, tell me
Oh,
about Johnny Coleman. Um, again, I'm getting a little emotional about it too. I mean, we knew about Johnny Coleman in Detroit. Yeah, people knew about Johnny Coleman all over the United States, specifically in the Black community. Of course, tell me about you. I want to see her through your eyes.
sure. Um, just some perspective for those of you who are brand new to Dr. Johnny Coleman. Johnny Coleman, in the early 50s, learned that she had a serious health challenge. Um, and she was an educator herself at that time, but she had a serious, life threatening health challenge that she got a call one day from the doctor saying, "You've got 6 months to live." And she was upset with the call, because she said, "Listen, I haven't started living yet. I'm not ready to die." And her mother had on her coffee table, Lula Park had on her coffee table, this little book from Unity. And the book said, "God is your health. You can't be sick." And she says, "How could they print such foolishness? I've just been told I've got 6 months to live." And her mother said, "Don't argue with me about it. Go to Unity and
Wow,
ask them about it."
wow.
And Johnny Coleman, being the determined soul she was, she took it literally, and she went to Unity Village in Missouri, to their worldwide headquarters and campus, and she began to study there. She was the first Black woman to integrate, not integrates, desegregate the Unity Worldwide Ministries
Wow.
campus, Unity Village campus. She slept on, first Black person to sleep on that campus. You'd have to think of Stanford University or some very prestigious campus to understand what it meant for her to do that. Long story short, she would rise in the ranks of Unity to become the president of Unity, Association of Unity Churches. And so she was a powerful, outspoken leader, but she got tired of um, dealing with the internal politics around gender and race, and eventually
Right,
established her own work in 1974
right.
called the Universal Foundation for Better Living, that spawned churches and study groups all over the nation and throughout the world, teaching the very same things, but with an emphasis on making sure that it was inclusive. Okay. Now, as a personality, Dr. Johnny Coleman was larger than life. She stood just about 6 feet tall. She was regal. When I say regal, I'm talking about her presence. Her presence was a force, it just had a force field around her of love, but also power. There was no missing Johnny Coleman if she was around. Her outfits and her beautiful wardrobe was always the finest of materials. Whatever she was always well dressed, smelled great, and she exuded love. And she, when she would speak on Sundays, I remember this distinctly as a kid. We had three services every week, which meant we had 3 Sunday schools. And I started going to the church when I was born. She christened me in the
Oh,
world. So, and
beautiful.
by the time I was 3 years old, I was so enamored with her that I wanted to sit through the adult service. I wanted to hear her. I wanted to experience her because she
Right,
came
right,
out and it was
right.
just electric. So I would go to one children's Sunday school and then two adult services. My mother sang in the choir. My father played the guitar for a while in the band. And so I would be sitting right there, experiencing, just taking it all in. And she spoke with such authority and power. I used to imitate her sometime to just,
Well, she's
have
a good
fun.
person to imitate now.
She was around this time of year, she would be giving lessons on the life and teachings of Jesus going into the Easter season. And she would teach about Jesus and Pilate. And so she would
Okay.
say, "Render therefore unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto God the things which are God's."
That
You know
is
that.
bravo. That is Johnny Coleman.
Is that Johnny?
That you nailed it.
Oh,
You nailed it.
so can't hear you though. Can't hear you. But she had this way. She had this way of speaking with such power and speaking with such authority that you were drawn in and you were convinced that you had at least a little bit of this. She taught people, that it was not enough to talk the talk. You have to walk the walk. And so she seriously demonstrated the teachings, whether it was the teachings of love and compassion or whether it was prosperity and abundance, which at the time the money problem was a major problem for many Black people in Black
Right,
communities. And so
right.
she taught people how to become prosperous and be in good standing with God at the same time. She
Gotcha.
she she challenged this notion that it was the poorer you were, the closer you were to God. And so she exposed us on a regular basis to many of the great teachers and thinkers. They all came through CUT. We call it CUT for short. In our lifetime, I got to experience them up close and personal, whether it be Napoleon Hill or whether it be Michael Beckwith or Les Brown or Oprah or even President Barack Obama came through. I mean,
Right,
I
right.
taught these guys my whole life. And on a personal note, she took me in as a son. And
Mm,
yeah, we were very,
wow.
very, very close. Every major milestone in my life, she participated in. Every major, up until just before she transitioned at my wedding. She attended my wedding. She came
Mm,
several times when I was at Morehouse College to see about me. She sent me to college. Actually, she and Reverend Ike sent me to college. Les
wow.
Brown took me in as well. Um, she 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 was there at my high school graduation. She was
Mm,
at the
mm,
college
mm.
graduation. And all in between each line of pain and glory, there was a mother-son relationship that was very special. It made some people jealous because how did he get in? You know.
Right, 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 right. I
But
mean,
she
and that's that dynamic, right? I mean, that exists
Mhm,
sometimes,
mhm.
but my guess is that she didn't care about that.
No, not at all. By putting the Brothers of Thunder up as teenagers on a
Right.
Sunday morning, which was prime time, she made a huge statement that she threw us to the front of the line. But we were her prodigies. We learned there. You know, my mother will tell you when I would leave church on Sundays, I'd go home and stand on a crate in my backyard and put some fabric over my shoulders, emulating.
I mean,
My mother,
and those are
yeah.
those you go. We talk about we stand on the shoulders of greats, and I
Hmm.
can't. Johnny Coleman was changed
Absolutely.
so many lives, including your own.
Absolutely.
Um, we're gonna take a short pause because when we come back, I want to talk about the DVD that you put together called "Liberate Your Spirit." It's a very, very powerful DVD, and I want to talk about how that all came out and how that all unfolded for you. So, everybody, we're going to take a short pause, and we'll be right back with more from Reverend Kevin Ross. Soulivity Magazine and Beyond Words Publishing is pleased to announce its latest charitable partner, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. We ask you to join us in supporting this national treasure of memories and truth to stay alive for generations to come.
Creating this museum gives us a chance to make manifest the dreams of many generations. We call the lost dream back.
This is a milestone moment not only for the Smithsonian, but for the United States.
The goal of the museum is to make America better, provide opportunities for us to be made better by the past, and for us to move towards a future where race will always matter. They will find that those ideals are only met through sacrifice and struggle and a belief in a better day.
This place is more than a building. It is a dream come true.
History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived.
And by knowing this other story, we better understand ourselves and each other. I, too, am American.
We ask you to join us in supporting this national treasure of memories and truth to stay alive for generations to come. And we are back with Soulivity Live and with my guest, Reverend Kevin Ross from Unity of Sacramento. We were talking about Johnny Coleman and the impact that she had on the world. Well, you've also had an impact on the world with your various books and with this DVD called Liberate Your Spirit. I really want to talk about how this came about. So tell me about the idea of Liberate Your Spirit. Let's talk about that first.
Well, I've been talking about stuff since I was a kid. You know, I've always had this gift of gab. That's what I've been told. And so fast forward many years later, I am a host with one of the first hosts on Unity FM radio at the time. It's now Unity Online Radio. But at the time, I was one of the first hosts, and I was getting some great guests. And at the time, Dr. Michael Beckwith, one of my mentors and teachers and friends, had released the book, Liberate Your Spirit. And I said, wow, you know, I would love to do a full program on this book. I'd like to do it as a special, but I want to do a television special. I want this to be in front of a live audience.
Okay.
And I want to sit down with him and talk about his remarkable journey. And I want to bring some other voices into the conversation as well, because I think one of the things that he was talking about was that in this book, bound by the what I call pre-existing conditions that we were born into, sociological pre-existing conditions. And so he was giving people a blueprint to liberate their spirits. And so I said, I'd love to do a special on the book, but also sit down with the man and bring some other thinkers together. And that's what we did. We did it in Kansas City, Missouri. At the time, I was leading a congregation in Kansas City, Missouri, and I wanted to have a courageous conversation, unlike any other conversation that Reverend Michael had on camera, and many of these other high-profile leaders who were in the special, including um, James Trapp, who at the time was the president and CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries. He was the top of the top of Unity, all of the over 1,000 churches around the world. And then Chris Michaels, who was one of the starring leaders, spiritual leaders with the Center for Spiritual Living. I wanted to bring these guys into unzip your heart and come forth and have a courageous conversation, not something that we could see on your website, right?
Right. That's edited, crisp, So those are important. That's not what you were talking about. You wanted to get real and raw.
I want the story. I want the story.
Right.
Because what's so important to me about inspiring people to take the journey, people are looking for the voice of the genuine. When we tap into the genuine, the authentic within other people, something in us says, okay, all right, there you go. That's it. That's me. That's me right there. And when you can create that relatability, then people can take the journey. So in that conversation, I got Reverend Michael to talk about, his journey from sitting in court, sitting in court for having been arrested for selling drugs.
That's real.
To pivot to becoming, this huge spiritual leader. What was that about? So we cover that. And he's vulnerable about it. He puts it out there, and he talks about this spiritual transformation and awakening that he had at that moment. It's in this moment, it was one of those moments where it changed. It had better change now.
We can't get away from the truth about whatever pain and wound that we've had or decisions that we've made that created some pain or we can't get away from that. And that's, how do we grow? We grow because we choose to go through something to heal and then aspire to something different. All these spiritual leaders, I'm so glad you did something like this, because I think it makes people even relate more to what they're saying now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the unmasking. It's the unmasking of the polished veneer of success. Success looks so well put together, but people don't know what did it take? Who did we have to become? And so Liberate Your Spirit steps people through some powerful stories. It takes us into Chris Michael's story, as polished and as successful and as inspirational and as many books as he had written and all of that. There was a point where, because he was struggling with his identity, being a gay man, he was at the point of taking his own life. He opened up about that moment in Liberate Your Spirit, and what must that be like to be at the point of feeling like you don't belong, and you want to be out from this world. He talked about that. James Trapp opened up in a powerful way. I'd never heard any of these, by the way. I'd never heard any of these guys speak. No. I've known them my whole life. I asked them to come and give their hearts and be vulnerable and be connectable and liberate their spirits, unburden their spirits in the way they shared. And then, of course, James Trapp talked about, being a powerful attorney who represented a lot of drug dealers at the time down in Miami, taking cash and so forth. And then, because of a deep wound in his life, abandoned by his mother when he was a little one. He became addicted to drugs, and so these men in that powerful special before a live audience of about 300 people unburdened themselves, but made a powerful connection in Liberate Your Spirit. And so many people got free because of that special.
Wow.
And still are getting free because of it.
You know, again, like our Truth and Power series, what you were part of last week, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where we must first unburden ourselves by accepting reality and the truth of what's going on with us. May it be how we feel, may it be the society that we live in, the pain that we've suffered as a child. I mean, whatever it is, to move to empowerment. So I'm so glad you did that and had that conversation. Everyone, you can get Liberate Your Spirit by going to Beyond Words and available. I highly recommend that you go get that. I also want to turn toward your latest book. And your latest book is called Breathing Space, 52-week meditation journey for centered, soulful, and successful living. And this is also, I mean, this is another powerful book in a different way, which is about one's spiritual practice. I want to kind of read something to you. I was going to surprise you with this.
Okay.
In our stressful modern times, wherein our societal conditioning cultivates feelings of not enough, shame, guilt, worry, and doubt, Rev Kev demonstrates the prospering effect of unconditional love. His erudite yet uplifting wisdom goes straight to the heart of our innate capacity to discover our utter worthiness, of the unconditional love spirit living at the root of our being, to nurture ourselves with this love and spread it to all beings without exception. I encourage you to engage these pages slowly and deeply so that they may find a home in your heart and guide and prosper every precious moment of your life. That was from Brother Michael Bernard Beckwith. Why did you write this book?
We are living through a double pandemic right now. And I have been in ministry, it's been about 20 years or so, or more. I've never received so many phone calls and emails from people who are depressed, filled with anxiety.
Wow.
So many people who are losing hope. So many people who are isolated in the most traumatic loneliness.
Yeah.
I've never received so many suicide calls as I have since end of 2019, 2021. That whole period, it's ramped up like never before. That people's breath is being taken away by what had been happening the last 4 years, and with the racial pandemic in this country, and then with COVID-19 pandemic, it becomes so much that people are living. Many people, not everybody, because some people are living their best lives right now. But for those who have been struggling, it prompted me to help to create a simple way that people could repossess their breath from all the ways it is being occupied and taken by a lot of these weapons of mass destruction. talking about my best friend, senior Reverend Eric Ovid Donaldson, who is from Detroit, who grew up at Detroit Unity Temple.
Okay.
We teamed up together to co-author Breathing Space. And the idea behind it is to provide an inspirational, insightful reading that you could unpack over the course of a week by using the power of meditation and journaling. So we're bringing those two modalities together so that we help people to slow down the pace of their lives by doing a 15-minute a day practice on reading, reflecting, reviewing, and writing down in response to some powerful question prompts that we have throughout. And we believe and know that as people take this journey, the insights, the hidden hope, the revelations, and the inner strength is we're just turning up the spigot on all of that. But we have to help people to repossess the breath and slow down life. Yeah. In these times and teach people the ability to, and this is so important, to build resilience and to go the long haul. It's not something we're accustomed to in the United States of America.
No, we're not.
In the long haul, we have such an instant gratification society. We're not equipped to be told there doesn't appear to be any end in sight. And so this is a time more than ever to have a spiritual practice and something that will take you step by step. It's a hand-holding journey, but I believe it equips people with a real good tool that they can use right now to, exhale and then open their eyes and enjoy the breeze that's all around them. A lot of this is an illusion. Mm-hmm.
As you were talking about, I'm remembering my folks did, they're both facilitators and psychotherapists and inspirational and motivational speakers as well. And they had this 1 year seminar, and every month they had something different. One of those months, they featured what's called rebirthing. And the center of that is breath.
Yes.
It's the very first thing that we
Yes.
do when we come out of when we have to breathe.
Yes.
And so as you were talking about breathing space in this 52-week journey, I couldn't help but remember those moments where you are clearing the slate. And that breathing and having that depth of a meditation is so vital, even when you're not in this kind of challenging time, just as regular maintenance, right?
Absolutely. For some of us, breathing space is about luxuriating in meditation and journaling. One of my secret practices for success is journaling. I have journals back to high school. It gives me the capacity to interrogate my inner conversation, and to when I can look at what's driving my choices, that inner conversation, and elevate that to a whole new level, then I can produce results that wouldn't have been possible had I not taken the time to observe, reflect, get a new insight.
Right.
The unexamined life, right, is the life that's not worth living, one said. So I love journaling. It's one of the ways, it's one of my secret spiritual practices. So I brought them all together in one book.
Wow, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start. I'm definitely gonna start. I mean, I've already listen, everybody. Even if you already have a a practice, a spiritual practice, wellness practice can always include new things to expand because, may it be a video or a new book, an audio tape, a podcast, there is
Mhm.
always room for growth and being
Yes.
proactive about it by seeking out, well, something that's interesting. Like if you're drawn, like I'm being drawn to this. So that
Mm,
means in my heart and in my spiritual that you need to go out and get
mm,
and go through and commit to it because that's
mhm.
the other half of it, right? It's
It is.
the
It is.
commitment part where you
Yeah.
commit to this practice and then the universe will increase the flow through you to make sure that you go through that commitment with ease, peace, and grace.
So let me just be honest.
Yep.
The journey, even though it's a 15-minute a day practice, and we know it takes about 15 minutes to do the reading and to do the entry for the day, it is a discipline you're developing. It's a muscle you're developing. And so we've created a community group, an online Facebook group for folks who need to be held accountable, for folks who want to have like-minded individuals who
Mhm.
are also doing the journey, because you can get off the path in this process. It asks you a power.
Oh
You
yeah.
got to. We're accustomed to getting an inspired word and then go to the next day and get an inspired. No, this is one you live with for a week
Right.
through a series of question prompts that you unpack so it is a discipline.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
best done with a partner. It's
Right.
best done
Right.
with somebody who's journeying with you, kind of like a good hiking buddy. It's kind of like that,
Right.
somebody who's got your back and who's committed to seeing you through it as well.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna make sure we have it on our Go Shop as well. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But speaking of partners,
Mm.
I want to throw up a quick picture, and what I'm showing right now, Kevin, is your beautiful queen. Um, tell me about.
Anita Ross.
Yeah, Anita.
By
Yeah,
the
we're talking about you. So yeah, surprise.
Anita Ross is, by the way, we met on Match.com. Okay. Anita is the love of my life. Anita is the catalyst and the grounding force in my life that has enabled me to become fully who I am. But she is an author, an activist. She is the founder of Women for Equality. She is the mother of our 3 magnificent children. She's on a mission to inspire women to love themselves fully. She believes that when women become uh, fully steeped in self-acceptance and self-love, and women reach critical mass in this awareness, we will rid the world of all its ills. Um, she is right now doing a radio interview at this very moment. She is on the
Really? Wow. Okay.
yeah, and she's won many awards for her work. She's written 2 books: "Meantime Love: A Woman's Journey from Self-Loathe to Self-Love," and then the follow-up book to that is "I Found Self-Love. Now What?" She's created this beautiful, and I'm not jealous. You know how somebody got something that you really want. Anita's created what's called the Meantime Love Hub, and it is this. She created what's called a sip of self love, which is SIP, shelter in place, videos that a series of videos for women on body image, on
Wow.
on
Wow.
women in business, on all of these powerful topics. And there's a hub that people can go to, and on a self-guided sort of way, you become a member, and you just have Anita all day. So
Mm-hmm.
she's forced to be reckoned with. And I am I'm privileged. I wouldn't be who I am without Anita being who she is. She challenges me
Yep.
uh,
Yep.
to embrace a powerful, self-conscious woman,
Right.
and
Right.
yet, we can rock and binge, you know, binge Netflix, and
Right.
in other words, I cannot. I have learned, and of course, I come from this powerful line of women,
Right.
in
Right.
my life, including my mother, but I have learned that it does not take away anything from a man to be aligned with a powerful woman who knows who she is
Absolutely.
and who's walking and living in her purpose. In fact, it speaks of the person that you are when you create space for her to become
Absolutely.
what she was meant to be. And
Absolutely.
so we have all kinds of fun up in this house.
I love
I
it.
tell I tell people I live with a celebrity. Anita
Hey,
Ross.
hey. I love calling my wife a C. I
Hey,
love it. Love it.
now
She is
listen.
doing it. So I believe
I'm the
I'm a true believer in every word you just said.
I'm the head of the family, but she's the neck that turns the head. How about that?
Oh, all right. Do a quick shout out to the kids because we got to make sure kids in there. What are their names?
Angelina, my eldest, Camila, my middle child, and my son, Caden.
Oh man. And next time we'll make sure we have a picture of, we can give you some love too, but I want to make sure we got the family in there.
Oh, and our newest member of the
Uh-huh.
family, Sanchez, our miniature schnauzer. He's like 12 weeks old.
Wow. Oh, so he's pup. Just
He
a
believes he's the main character of the family right now.
yeah. I totally understand that. Then
Yeah,
you're gonna be running the house for a minute, probably.
yeah, yeah, yes.
um, I know we're pushing up on some time. Have enough time to do some other things that we need to. But can you give Rev Kev? Can you give our audience just some parting words of wisdom for this time? Um, some of the things that you're telling to some of your uh, patrons at the church or people that you meet. What's been some thoughts that have been kind of flowing through you that you want to share with our audience about all these times? I mean, the pandemic is still around. Both pandemics said there's economic things that are happening in our world with a lot of pain. And I want to make sure that on every show that we do, we leave people with just something that they can take away from. So what would that be for you to them?
Well, again, thank you for having me on this
Absolutely. Absolutely.
very, very rich discussion. Um, there are words that speak to me that I refer back to often, especially now. Actually, Eric Donaldson wrote these words with Daniel Tucker, and it had become something that the Brothers of Thunder were known by. But they are something that I think people can lean on right now, especially when we're abandoning hope and we're terrified about the prospect of not being in full possession of our dreams, that our dreams are going up in smoke. They're not. So I'll leave you with these words. If when adversity should strike in your life, and you can look beyond the setback and strife, if neither sorrow nor grief can challenge your belief, and you can see the victory that lies in defeat and mistakes and errors you don't repeat. If you are willing to pursue your goals and your dreams, no matter how far in the distance they may seem, and you refuse to relent, no matter the trials and tribulations sent. And if you can see all the beauty that lies all around you, and you know that the love of God surrounds you, and you can love yourself and believe in yourself, and all of the things that you ever hope for and fight for and pray for shall be there for the taking. And dreams, my friends, were always in the making. Peace,
Wow.
richest blessings.
Thank you. Thank you.
My joy.
Let me do some housekeeping here. Once again, I want to thank Reverend Kev for being here. Transformational. That's what this is about. Transformation, inspiration for you to live your best life right now. A couple of things I want to remind you of. Want to remind you that we have our new event coming up in March, celebrating women around the globe. It's a candid conversation about gender equality and equity and solutions for a better world. You're able to save yourself a reminder for that by going to our YouTube channel. I also want you to remind you to please follow us on social media. You can go to our Instagram page or our Twitter page. You need to do this so that you can follow us and you can see upcoming events as well as inspirational thoughts from people just like Rev Kev. Also, check out our Go Shop, which is new for Soulivity. You can books, you can get videos, beauty products. It's a whole lot of different things to inspire you to live your best life today. So on behalf of myself and Rev Kev, I want to say thank you for watching Soulivity Live this morning. We're going to end our show with a prayer by Rev Kev, where he was the first unity minister to actually do the opening prayer for Congress. So I want to end our show with this prayer. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.
Mr. Speaker, I ask my colleagues to join me in welcoming Reverend Kevin Ross and thank him for offering today's opening prayer in the U.S. House of Representatives.
May we turn within and look higher to the God of our understanding and pray. Loving presence, we invoke from the celestial balconies the witness of the pioneers of our progress, whose bloody journeys marshaled an unprecedented faith and birthed a new nation of radical inclusion. Bless these sons and daughters of promise gathered in this, the people's house. Let them reach higher for crowns of conscience, to exemplify compassion and bring from their districts to their desks sharp pencils that carve on their hearts the faces of freedom that they represent. Let this house be an incubator for our best ideas and not a prison for our poorest politics. Let these heroes and sheroes of the people's house summon the intellectual imagination and the intuitive navigation to serve bolder together and break through the ideological gridlock that arrests the potential of our great republic. Let these innovators of cooperation and builders of the beloved community reunite these states of America and lead the way for a world that works for all. This is enough. In the name of a love supreme, we pray, and so it is. Amen and amen.
My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Soulivity Live. Hey, my sister, how are you?
It's Lent, right? Yeah. we might need some more wine for this.
So let's get this party started, y'all. Hey, my sister, mademoiselle.
That is the most amazing introduction I have ever heard.
Oh. Of myself and Madison, Brian Wesley Johnson. Johnson saying thank you for joining us on Saturday morning. You a life full of passion, purpose, and high quality living. See you next time.